Assalamualaikum everyone. This is Ariba Tariq Lutfi and welcome to Sante's weekly broadcast Nazariya, the power of experience. Let's continue our conversation about experiences versus knowledge with Pakistan's leading ophthalmologists and their practice in treating glaucoma. So today I would like to introduce one of the renowned multi-award winning eye specialist and surgeon who is trained from UK and has experience of more than many ophthalmologists in Pakistan. He specializes in glaucoma disease, LASIK, degenerative eye disease, cataract surgery as well. He is the former HOD ophthalmology of Rawalpindi Medical College, and he is also the former HOD of ophthalmology, Al Nafis Medical College, Islamabad. So let's welcome our guest of today, Professor Dr. Imtiaz Ali. Assalamu alaikum, Professor. How are you?
And thank you, Sante, as always, inviting me for delivering different talks. I'm very, very obliged. I'm very thankful to Sante. So I can share my experience with you regarding this complex disease.
Thank you, Professor Imtiaz, for joining with us here today. And it is an honor for us to have you on Nazariya. And let's share your experience and views with our audience. I will start with my first and foremost question with you. What do you think is the prevalence of glaucoma patients during your practice and in your clinic? And if you can also give an overview about glaucoma in Pakistan to our audience.
With my experience of 35 years in Pakistan, I can assure you, and this shows the amount of patients that you see, that in my opinion, and we have an opinion at Pakistan Glaucoma Association as well, that this is no less than 10 to 12%. I'm only talking about primary glaucomas. So for my audience, please remember that the glaucoma prevalence is much more than what we think it is, in our population at least.
During your practice, how many patients do you in a day see that are glaucoma patients?
You see, it's not a question of seeing glaucoma patient. I use the word, it's how many glaucoma patients that you discover who have glaucoma. People come for different ailments and their intraocular pressure is not checked. Nobody looks at their disc. If you know how to look into the eye, then you know the eye better than anybody else. So a simple 90D lens, you can just have a look at the disc and then discover the patients of glaucoma who are roaming around. And particularly, I'll mention as we go further that the secondary glaucoma because of steroids is a big problem in our outdoors, particularly in Islamabad, Rawalpindi, because we see a lot of patients from northern areas who just get a bottle of betisol and keep putting it in the eye from the chemist for allergic conjunctivitis, etc. And that raises their intraocular pressure. And there's a big population in everywhere in the world who are steroid responders. And a steroid responder will respond not in 1 month. We used to do a Decadron test. If he is a responder, he'll respond in 1 week. So we have to discover the patients of glaucoma. They're not just presented to us.
Okay, so the patients, what I am gathering is that patients, they are not aware that they have glaucoma, but you discover
it. The doctors are not aware. Even the doctors are not aware.
So when you test the patients, that's when the patient is discovered that they have glaucoma, and that's when you break into the patient. Okay, that's interesting. Real life practices, experiences की बात कर रहे हैं, तो I would also like you to share a case that was probably very memorable for you or life-changing for a patient, if you can share.
I'll just give you one example, which is about 2 months ago.
Okay.
A young girl was sent to me, 14 years old, young girl, and just had very bizarre symptoms. And one of the ophthalmologists, he was very good and checked her pressure, and turned out to be 38 in one eye and 35 or 36 in the other eye. Everything looked from outside as normal. and he suspected glaucoma, and he sent the patient to me. He had a look at the disc, and that was suspicious as well. And he was an ophthalmologist, an experienced ophthalmologist. So he picked it up and sent it to me. And to my horror, when I did the OCT, I did the visual fields, and I was surprised and to see that that was a typical case of glaucoma, no family history at all, none at all. Parents were fine, no comorbids, nothing at all, no other symptoms. The eye was white and quiet. And I did the visual field, I did the OCT, which confirmed. Then what happened, I could not believe my eyes. Looked at the disc was typically glaucomatous. But as you know, the glaucoma can coexist in so many patients with other comorbidities of the brain. So I thought she's a young girl and I should do, I didn't put her on anti-glaucoma treatment as yet. I told the mother, and then I did an MRI on her to satisfy myself as well that there may be another pathology which is giving me that look of the disc. Of course, with that kind of pressure, you have to suspect glaucoma. And in the brain, the report came and she had different kind of artifacts and whatever it was, but was not related to was not in the area which was related to glaucoma. So I started her on drops. She did not respond to prostaglandin analogs. And the pressure came down from 36 to hardly 32 or maybe 30, which I expected would come down at least 30% in 20s or maybe. So I tried next week again, no benefit. So I had to change her to a combination of dorzolamide and timolol and stop the prostaglandin analog, and then found out in 2 weeks' time that the pressure came down below 20. So this was a very, very eye-opening case for me. There's a patient who's so young, you never suspect glaucoma, has got the pressure, has got some artifacts in the brain on MRI as well, but the visual fields and the OCT is unequivocal. So she had glaucoma. So I experience these kinds of cases very often because I do glaucoma referrals. So this was one of the very recent ones, as you asked me. So don't think that a 14-year-old cannot have glaucoma.
That is really shocking that at such a young age, a person could have glaucoma and they would not even have a family history.
It was not that she was going to an outdoor and she was a very rich person.
So this is quite shocking. I'm sure the viewers must also learn from this incident. So is it important that to have an early diagnosis of glaucoma, and what is its importance for the patients basically?
See, this case answers your question straight away.
Yes.
Now, if she was not diagnosed till she was 20 or she was in 20s, late 20s, then she would lose half of the visual fields, and then she would experience so many other things. So as she was diagnosed so early, and she can afford the treatment, I hope. So what will happen is that we have put her on medical treatment. We will observe her and see at the end of the 1 year or 2 years that is it progressing, because she's not a good case for surgery. The younger you are, the more failures in surgery that you have, right? So this is the basic treatment that we have offered her. But if she does not respond to it properly, so if she was not diagnosed in 10 years' time, then she would have lost. So the early diagnosis is the key to success. I took 2 months on that young girl to diagnose and make sure, although the pressure was very high. Somebody would say, well, pressure is high, glaucoma. So I made sure it's not a secondary glaucoma.
That's understandable that it is the most important part of glaucoma, that you get diagnosed earlier so that it can be treatable and your life quality of life can be improved when you grow older. Professor Imtiaz, my next question to you is that how should the glaucoma treatment be initiated, or what is your treatment of choice for glaucoma?
Remembering that 15 to 20% of the patient, as I mentioned, my young patient, was not responsive to prostaglandin analog, and this is the drug of choice. If this fails, then you can go to a beta blocker or a combination, and then you will exactly know. If you start 3 drugs at a time, you will not know which one is acting and which one is not. So take your time. There's no hurry. The patient is not going to go blind in 2 to 3 months, and then select a medicine which is effective for that patient, reduces the pressure with below 20 and ideally below 15. So medical treatment is the best. Some people with coming technology are advocating selective laser trabeculoplasty, but we don't have many machines in Pakistan. It is expensive and not many people are trained to do it.
You do not prefer surgery when treating
doctors? Not straight away afterwards patient, you just tell them that you need surgery. And glaucoma surgery is not like a cataract surgery that you get it done in 20 minutes, go home and start seeing next day. Yes. This surgery has post-operative problems. And even in good hands, I tell my patients that in first 4 weeks, I may have to take you to the operation theater again in 3 to 4 times. Either the pressure will go down too much or it will go up again. So I may have to do some resetting of the procedure. And once the patient agrees, then I do the surgery. The younger the patient, the more failures, the older the patient, because you have to remember one thing for my audience. Please remember the sentence that I am going to say. This is the only surgery in the whole medicine and surgery and in body, in the whole world, in which we are going against the nature. You would ask me how? Because in every surgery that we do, we pray to God, Ya Allah, iske jaldi healing ho jaye. This is the only surgery in which you make a fistula, make a hole in the eye, and you pray to God, for God say, Ya Allah, ye band na ho jaye. So you are going against nature. And in any part of the world, your life and in point in time, when you go against nature, the nature will take its revenge. Right? So iske bahut problems hai surgery ke, even in good hands, but that doesn't mean कि ना करें surgery. एक patient को maximum medical treatment दे दिया, वो भी effective नहीं, या दवाइयों के side effect हो रहे हैं, patient is not compliant, cannot afford the medicines. Yes, by all means go for the surgery.
Okay, that was a really educational thing for us, that when you are going against the nature, so nature is going to take its revenge.
Yes, yes, it is.
Quite memorable. I'm sure the audience will also remember this.
Yes.
So, Professor Imtiaz, have you had any unusual or unreported incident while using a medication of glaucoma that you would like to share with us? Or if you haven't, then that's...
Yes, yes. I'm very happy that somebody asked me that question. You know, if you read the insert of a beta blocker, which was the main medicine 20 years ago, believe me, as a doctor or as a patient, you would never put a drop in your eye. And I'm sure not many doctors even have read an insert of a beta blocker. It mentions so many side effects. And you'll be surprised that I have seen a side effect in my practice, which I never believed I would see. Hallucination is pretty common, particularly in patients who are using it for the first time. And I've seen a side effect which is mentioned in literature, that in males with long-term use of beta blocker drops, you can get baldness. And I've seen it in 2 patients.
So this is something very unusual. I think I've never heard of this before.
Very unusual, and hallucinations, which is quite, and we never ask the patient about hallucination. Patient will tell you that when I put medicine in, I feel very lethargic because it produces flaccid muscles, the beta blockers. These are very common things that हम नहीं पूछते. And prostaglandin analogs में जो most important thing which I see it produces the resorption of the fat of the orbit is absorbed and you get sunken eyes.
You did justice to my question actually. It was an unusual, these were pretty unusual side effects. So is there any advice that you would like to give the young ophthalmologists or the viewers who look up to you and would like to know from your experience?
Yes, thank God you asked me and I missed it. हालांकि मैंने आपकी चीजें लिख के रखी हुई हैं. And my request to my vitreoretinal colleagues, in my experience, I keep telling everybody, in my experience, We were told that the intraocular pressure does not increase with anti-VEGFs and intravitreal injections, except the steroids that we inject. Believe me, in my experience, the limited experience I have of treating AMD or mostly diabetic retinopathy, I can give you statistics that at least 30 to 40% of the patients develop high intraocular pressure after 1, 2, or 3 anti-VEGF injections. My vitreoretinal colleagues, please don't mind it, and I'm telling you the truth that I am monitoring their intraocular pressure, and this is a pressure which is so difficult to treat. And if you go to the literature, it says that it produces some changes that we don't know, or it produces permanent changes in the trabecular mesh one. So, for God's sake, keep checking their intraocular pressure when they come, and at least if you have to give them the injection, reduce their intraocular pressure by some other means, maybe Diamox or maybe intravenous mannitol, so they can get an injection in a soft eye. And please look for higher IOPs in anti-VEGF injection. Every surgeon is doing it, particularly vitreoretinal surgeon, and it is not easy to treat. That's my message.
So thank you so much, Professor Imtiaz, for sharing your experience and your insight with us and also with the viewers. And it was an amazing experience for me as well, and of course, learning too. So I would like to thank you for joining me and giving me this opportunity to have you in this broadcast with us. Do you have last few words that you would like to share with us, and then we'll end this session?
I'm very happy that you started this activity. Santhi has always been in the forefront. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'd like to end this Nazaria broadcast today with the quote that knowledge gained through experience is far superior and many times more useful than bookish knowledge. And certainly, with you, Professor Imtiaz, your experience is more useful than what the ophthalmologists have learned from the books. So thank you once again, and Allah Hafiz.
Thank you.